Keir Starmer has officially made himself the most unifying figure in the UK. The left, right, and centre are all against this government's proposed ID digital card that is set to be launched soon. So Keir Starmer has unveiled a plan for a digital ID scheme after admitting Labour had previously shied away from addressing immigration concerns. It would require anyone starting a job or renting a home to show it on their phone, which would then be checked against a database of those entitled to work and live here. The plan sees digital IDs becoming mandatory for the right to work by the end of this Parliament. The Prime Minister wrote in the Daily Telegraph today that it was now essential to tackle every aspect of the problem of illegal immigration. Starmer has already been criticised by claiming this would tackle illegal immigration because it won't work. Those who are illegally working, the employer knows that. They do it on purpose to undercut wages. Many employers are looking the other way. What we could do is allow asylum seekers to work so they can stand on their own 2 feet, and that immediately ends the exploitation. It feels similar to the drug war. You can do all these policies to try and end the drug war. You could just legalize it. So we could just allow asylum seekers to work. Now, Starmer was initially against the idea, but was convinced by French President Emmanuel Macron. Emmanuel Macron has repeatedly warned that the lack of ID cards acts as a major pull for channel crossings as migrants feel they can find work in the black economy. This has to be the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Those coming here won't know this, and even if they did, it's not going to stop them. The 2 biggest reasons why asylum seekers choose this country is family and language. The influx of refugees also happened after Brexit. Now, the Labour Party lied to us about ID cards, as this was in fact a U-turn. Foreign Secretary Yvette Cooper previously said the government would not be introducing the cards in July 2024. She said, "That's not our approach." And now Chief Whip Jonathan Reynolds said at the same time, "We can rule that out. That's not something that's part of our plans." Well, clearly they were lying, weren't they? So why is it happening? Well, because it's an old Blairite idea that just won't die. They have wanted this for decades. Former Prime Minister Sir Tony has long been an advocate of ID cards and also tried to get a scheme off the ground when he was in charge. Those proposals were scrapped after Labour lost power in 2010, having been opposed by the Liberal Democrats and the Tories at the time. Now, there's been no transparency on who's going to hold the data. Will it be Palantir or other private corporations? This is government overreach dressed up as tackling illegal immigration. Blairism has been an authoritarian project, and Keir Starmer is the same. It's about power, and once they introduce it, successive governments will build on that legislation, adding more and more state control. Now, this will give the government power to take away services such as healthcare. This was admitted by Labour MP Joe White.
French have already said that the pull factor in this country is that people can get a job without having to show ID, and therefore it has opened the door far too easily to legal working. And so we need to disincentivise people coming to this country. Having a requirement to show an ID card at that point of employment is a critical way to stop that trail of people coming across into the UK. That's a number one reason. But access to public services, for example, if a French person comes into this country and they can access the NHS if they're ill, and there's no payment system. But if we have to show an ID card, we can actually show that we're entitled to use the NHS.
Now, according to the Refugee Convention, anyone should be allowed to use the NHS. It's free at the point of use, so it doesn't matter if you're a citizen or an asylum seeker. Healthcare is a human right, and we need more politicians defending that. But future governments have the power to take it away. It's seriously dangerous. And if you think it's going to end at asylum seekers and immigrants, I think again. Now, these 2 memes made me laugh, as it does sum up the right wing's view on this. So what you've got on the left is a libertarian nightmare, and it's got drones. I think it's a drone or spy plane. You got a camera, and underneath is a libertarian paradise with USA Inc. libertarians on the right, tyranny.gov, don't like it, tyranny.com. I do love that because I think the left are consistent when it comes to authoritarianism, whereas the right are like, the government does it, it must be bad, but they do not care if private corporations have all of our information or data or control all the aspects of our life. Authoritarianism doesn't mean when governments do stuff and that's it. It means when power is used over you. We see our data being taken every single day from corporations. They are used to sell products back to us or sell it to the government to attack our civil liberties. Now, some have said, why are people up in arms when the government does this? Well, if this one thing is wrong, you shouldn't support it when it's the government. Two wrongs don't make a right. I mean, I saw Paul Meeson say, well, I used my thumbprint to get onto my iPhone and all these companies take all your data. And like, yeah, that's not a good thing. Right? We should oppose digital ID and also support the government to rein in the power of corporations. Kevin, why do you think this government has announced such an unpopular policy at a time when they themselves are so unpopular?
Well, this is what happens when you outsource policy making to the Tony Blair Institute. This is exactly where it ends up. We've literally got the zombie politician that just refuses to go away. We've got what? Supporting genocide in the deserts of Arabia? Check. Political malfeasance and financial corruption? Check. ID cards? Check. Peter Mandelson being kicked out of the government? Check. It's just a reheat of Blairism all over again. It's so infuriating because literally everything they announce, every major announcement they have, it's almost like it's a political experiment in trying to form the most advantageous for Nigel Farage policy prescription for everything, for absolutely everything. It's almost like Nigel Farage is writing their policies for them in order to advantage his own political career, because it's just driving people into his arms. Honestly, they are creating a coalition of potentially very disparate political forces from left and right and the kind of libertarian or more old school socialist people or whatever, who despise this. They just absolutely hate it because A, they know it won't actually help with immigration in any way whatsoever, and B, it's obviously just a power grab in the same way that it was when Blair tried to do it 20 years ago. It's so obvious. And like Nigel Farage, if he just goes into the next election promising to scrap this, he wins in a landslide. It's automatic that he will win, assuming that something crazy doesn't happen, like he gets, I don't know, outed on the Epstein lists or something crazy like that. Whoever knows? Although he might get a job in the Labour Party, who knows? But outside of something crazy like that, he will absolutely win in a landslide because he's being given votes every time Keir Starmer announces a thing. He keeps giving them votes. The political acumen of Morgan McSweeney and the Labour Together crowd has been vastly, vastly overestimated by the media class because all they looked at was the raw numbers. Oh, he won a landslide. Yeah, but that's because the Tory party committed Harry Carey in front of the nation. Like, that's the only reason. It's nothing to do with him or his strategy or anything like that. Also, the fact that he was convinced by Macron, a man who is even less popular in France than he is here. Look, what are you doing? Honest to God, it's ridiculous. And why would you trust a government who just had to admit, and technically this was under the Tories, but the same bureaucracy is in place, that they gave information about people escaping the Taliban to the Taliban? Why would you want them to have any more of your information? This is madness.
I tell you what, I found it really, really funny that John McTernan said, I want to make the political divide between Labour and Reform on ID cards. And I'm like, this is insane. This just shows how inept these communicators are.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I think you're absolutely right. If Nigel Farage runs on, I am going to scrap it from day one, that is a huge bump in the polls. This is the thing. This is what the Labour Party should be drawing ideological lines on. Not on ID cards, right? Yeah. But on working class power. Yeah. It's very simple. And this is what the left has taken the mantle of, which is Nigel Farage and the other political parties stand on the side of big business and billionaires, and the left stands on the side of the 99%. So yes, you should create a wedge issue between one party and another, not on competency. But John McTernan saying do it on ID cards is wild to me.
They're so disconnected from reality, honestly. This has to be the death of Keir Starmer's prime ministership. It has to be. If the Labour Party have any hope of achieving just salvation, just surviving past 2029, this has to be the end of him. because his political antennae are so broken that this is what he thought was a good idea. Now, to be fair, it has definitely distracted people from the fact that he had Anansi's best friend as the ambassador to America, and of course knew all about that, and of course the financial corruption, etc., etc. But what it's done is arguably worse, because now everyone hates him for another reason. You've just given another reason for people never ever to vote for you again. The Labour Party, if they've got any sense, have to kill whatever bill this gets put into instantly. Not just like, oh, it's second reading, third reading. No, kill it dead from the very beginning and get rid of Keir Starmer. Otherwise, it's over for them.
I know there's a petition. Do not introduce ID cards. 1.3 million. So 1,362,181 signatures to scrap
Massive.
the ID card.
Yeah.
I want to ask you, though, I mean, what's your view on those who say, oh, it's not a big deal. It's just an easier and more efficient way to put all of your information together in one place. What do you say to those who because this is, we are unified, left, center, right, are pretty much unified against this, but there have been some people on the left as well, that said it's not that much of a big deal.
Well, for those people, firstly, God bless you. You are some of the most naive summer children I've ever encountered. I will just point out to you that we have seen the government vastly misuse powers under terrorism legislation, which we were promised would only ever be used against the scary brown people, not the nice middle-class white people. Honest. And it has been used against everyone, because that's what governments do. There is always, always, always mission creep with every piece of power you give them. Every piece of power ceded to Westminster is always abused somewhere down the line. Because even if Keir Starmer has no interest or no intent to misuse this political power, who knows who comes after him? Does Nigel Farage intend to misuse this power? What about if it's someone even worse than him that comes along later? This is why you have to absolutely clamp down on any power grabs by authority, because they will always misuse it. We've seen that conclusively in the way that they've abused the terrorism legislation. That means that spray painting an airplane now makes you on the same level as Boko Haram. If you think that same government will not they won't misuse your information to take away certain privileges from society, maybe healthcare, maybe employment rights, maybe benefits, who knows? It's an absolute lottery. This is ridiculous. It's obviously authoritarian, will be misused at some point in the future if it's allowed to get off the ground. So please, get your heads out of your backsides and see the reality of this for what it is. This is such a dangerous possibility. Please, for the love of God, stop pretending like, oh, well, I don't have anything to hide. Well, so what? People who were in Extinction Rebellion didn't have anything to hide. They were still called terrorists. People who were conspiring to cause public nuisance got 4 years in jail under terrorism legislation. Don't think it won't be used against you, because they'll come for you as soon as it's convenient.
I saw a really good tweet. I can't remember who said it, so I can't credit them. It was a brilliant tweet, and they said, if you're happy for your civil liberties to be given up because, I've got nothing to hide, you shouldn't own curtains. And I thought that was brilliant, right? I mean, I've got curtains. Does it mean I've got something to hide? No, I would like some privacy. I think, look, if anyone's watching who's on the fence on this, I mean, I think it's very clear where we stand on this, but allow me to say two things. One, the first thing is, this is absolutely the Tony Blair Institute.
Yeah.
Actually, I found out today that Larry Ellison, the second richest man in the world, has pumped hundreds of millions of pounds into the Tony Blair Institute. Like, why would you do that? He owns Oracle, which is a software which collects data. One of my previous jobs used Oracle for payroll and stuff. The idea that there's not going to be a link there is obviously ridiculous. This data is going to be sold to private companies. But even if we have this policy come in and it's all owned by the government, it's not sold to private companies in the next 4 years, it's still a bad policy because you don't know what successive governments are going to do.
Exactly.
Once you open that door, it's very difficult to close. And it could even be, by the way, that Reform get in, and by the way, them saying we're against ID cards. Once it's introduced, right, do you think they can have any problem using government overreach to shut down left-wing organisations and protests? I mean, they won't think twice. I mean, the Labour Party's doing it with Just Up Oil. I mean, they got 5 years in prison each for a Zoom call when it comes to Palestine action. You can't even hold up a fucking sign without getting arrested. What 90-year-old women who are getting carried to the back of police vans. Don't think that Nigel Farage, who was very good friends with Donald Trump, who, as we know, Donald Trump is, in my opinion, leading a fascist government, clamping down on dissent, that Farage and Reform won't do this either. Even when they say right now, we're against ID cards, it's very different before it's implemented, once it's implemented, and then a political party gets the power and goes, wow, we've got even more power. Do you think they're going to vote to end their own power? No, they're going to use it. So that's why I think it's really important. I think there's a lot of people say, and Paul Mason said it, oh, it's not a big deal. It's just an efficient way of putting things on your phone. I just think it's naive to think that. But also, on a practical level, a lot of older people don't have phones.
Yeah.
Or something might happen to your phone. Like, this is going to shut out a lot of people anyway.
Yeah, well, exactly. None of the arguments for this work. It won't help with migration in the slightest, because again, people who are undocumented will just have one document extra that they also won't have. This won't change anything. The black economy, as mentioned by Macron there, will still exist, and this won't alter it in the slightest. There is no good argument for it. There are lots and lots of very good practical and ethical concerns against it. I see no reason why this could possibly pass. There is no defending of this. And then the ghoulishness of Labour MPs to go out and be like, yeah, maybe we could just cut off healthcare to people. Yes, I do. They're brown, so what does it matter? They're foreign. Who cares? We should just maybe doctors just let black people bleed out in the streets. Who cares? They're foreign, so it doesn't matter anymore. Honestly, this government need to go away. I nearly broke terms of service very badly there.